Jason Isbell in the 400 unit, Weathervanes album review. Let's chat about it. Hey friends, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning, here tonight to chat about this latest album from Alabama-based singer Jason Isbell and his band, the 400 unit. They've been at it for quite a few years, and for a whole mess of those years, they've just been a modern gem in alternative country. Now, I've talked a lot about the years of Drive-By Truckers that I've always enjoyed. Most of my favorite Drive-By Truckers albums had Jason Isbell on them. As a matter of fact, in the early days before I was really into Drive-By Truckers, it was the tracks that Jason had either wrote or sung that drew me into the band. And when I was finally getting into their full-length albums, it was kind of when Jason was on his way out of the project. But when I heard he was starting the 400 unit, of course I investigated right away. And when they put out their self-titled debut, I was absolutely glued to the thing, from the storytelling to Jason's vocals. This was exactly where I wanted to hear him kind of post Drive-By Truckers. Now, I will say this, if there was ever an album that I was never into from Jason or the 400 unit, it would be Here We Rest. I listened to this thing like a week ago just to make sure I'm still not into it. I'm still shocked by how phoned in most of this album is. Sorry. But the next time we heard from the 400 sound, they were putting out my favorite project from them, the Nashville sound. This thing was so solid, and I still think so after all these years, from the ballads on here, like When We Were Vampires, to White Man's World, to some of the sort of, I don't know, peppier tracks on here, like The Cumberland Gap, and my favorite, Hope the High Road. This album, this track list, it's just so solid. And while not as good, I thought that 2020's Reunions was just a very solid alternative country album, which, I mean, more times than not, it's what you're getting from Jason and company. And I do want to very quickly salute the Georgia Blue project, the covers project that he put out. It's fine, but it's a covers project. You know what you're getting. Some covers are really good. Some just really should have been left to the original. It's fine. Now, leading up to this album, I've been very excited lately to chat about this album. Just because I thought all the singles leading up to this thing were really solid. Let's chat about this thing. This album starts off with Death Wish. It is a very shocking, stark intro. It's a very personal ballad that goes very deep into the themes of having a reason to live. And between the incredible vocal performance that we get here to the very commendable, very real lyrics, this is just a very raw start. It's dramatic, it's emotional, it's hitting on all cylinders. The vocals are just tear-jerkingly awesome. The storytelling is just so visual. It's just what I'm looking for. Then we get King of Oklahoma, and there is just such an essence of cool that comes off in Jason's music and sometimes, and my God, is that ever prevalent on this album. This is a rustic, dusty, old-school country ballad done right. Jason's performance is so sincere. Rarely on this album is it not, and this chorus is absolutely money. This amount of heart and this amount of passion in modern country is such a rarity, and this track just gives me the chills. Jason just bleeds that heart, and I love it. And the bluesy guitar solo, oh, A+. Strawberry Woman is just another stunningly visual ballad. There's just constantly just a deep feeling of love and passion in almost all of Jason's lyrics. This track is no different. This track just warms my bones. I mean, there's a lot of tracks on this album that just scream, you know, playlist for that special someone. And on top of that, I love the bluesy, sort of rustic riff and that great harmonica solo. This track is awesome. Middle of the Morning is another very lush, very sunny ballad. And that's not a bad thing either, especially because Jason's vocals back it up. I mean, Jason's vocals are almost always very passionate, but hearing him just really belt out on a track like this, it's special. The classy pianos, the bluesy guitars, this just summery atmosphere, just, oh, it's so nice. I mean, grab your whiskey, get out on your porch, and enjoy the summer. And I don't think it gets any better for me here than Save the World. I mean, I'm the kind of guy that likes a track. I mean, I love a ballad from Jason as much as the next guy, but I like to hear him, you know, rock out a little. I like to hear him a little oomph, and that's what we get here. I love the grit. I love the energy. I love this big freaking chorus. I don't think it gets any better than this. And If You Insist, it's just so carefree and upbeat. It just makes me feel so good. And listen, this track may be the height of Jason's storytelling on this album. That's a big statement. But it's true, the lyrics on this track are absolutely mind-meltingly good. His storytelling is on another level. And listen, if you're not a fan of Jason's music and haven't been a fan of his work with the 400 unit in the past, this album isn't going to save you or, create new fans. But for all of you Isbell stans like myself out there, this is home, and home sounds really, really good. I mean, there are some tracks on here that detract from this album a little bit, still make me kind of, I don't know, still think the Nashville sound is like the peak of 400 unit. Cast Iron Skillet, for example, I think this is the worst track here. If for starters, this instrumental, I'm just not into it. It's just not as sweet on the ears as a lot of the other moments on this album. And that's just the start of my issues. The songwriting, Jason, you are so much better than this, my friend. It's just a very painfully average alt-country ballad, and if you are familiar with Jason's work, you will know that he is just so much better than that. And White Beretta is not really just doing anything for me either. I mean, this album is full of very visual, very passionate alt-country ballads. This doesn't sound like anything new or anything exciting. This actually, sadly, just comes off of like a summary of other kind of thoughts that he's had on this album, and it's not interesting. It's just nothing fresh. And Miles as the finale here, I was really pumped for this track. It's a 7-minute plus bluesy jam that takes its time, and that on paper sounds awesome. But I haven't talked about the length of this album just because it's not the biggest flaw here, but this thing is over an hour long, and I don't really think it needed to be that, especially when you get to this track. It's over 7 minutes long, like I said, and it's got a great backdrop. That bluesy instrumental, it really does reel you in. But from a songwriting stance, it is not nearly up to the task of, finalizing this album or its thoughts or its stories. Like, the keyboard's cool, and that bluesy guitar solo, that's something that I'll always appreciate from Jason. Then, this track literally falls apart halfway through. I expected so much more as a finale, and it's a long one, and it just brings me down. But I still do think this is one of the better 400 unit projects. When We Were Close is really awesome. I love this gritty, Heartland rock inspired rip. It's got some energy to it, and everything that follows is just gravy. I mean, this track is so sharply wrote and so instantaneous, it should have been a single. I think it's one of the best tracks here, easily the best deep cut, and from all the little details, like the more prominent use of the keyboard, yes, to some of the one-liners, which are awesome. This track just has so much going for it. As a matter of fact, I'll make a bold statement: if you're new to Jason's music and just getting into it, this is probably a great place to start. And Volunteer is absolutely amazing. I mean, in an album that is so full of visual, sweet, heartfelt ballads, this track here is one of the best. I mean, the dual vocals, they are just so beautifully done here, and I don't want to give away too much lyrically because this is the kind of track that you need to dive into and experience for yourself, but it is immaculate. I love just how bluesy and broken down Vestavia Hills is. This track sounds exhausted in the absolute best way, like in the end of a workday, just want to belt everything out kind of way. It's just fantastic. I love the extended guitar solo. And this ain't it. Late in the album, this is just such a great last-minute, sharp left turn. This is a rowdy, down-home, freaking funky and fun track with some great energy and spirit to it. Jason's performance is soulful as hell. This track's got some meat to it. It's over 6 minutes, but it's actually really well done. And the extended jam is not full of itself at all. It's actually really tasteful and just blends well with the track. This album is very easily one of the band's better ones. I mean, Jason's songwriting, it's only getting better, which is shocking to say that. I mean, this has some of his most visually vibrant and just incredibly immense storytelling of his career. The hooks are there, the performances are all heartfelt, the atmosphere is just so summery and feel good, and despite this album being long, which certainly is a flaw, it does keep you captivated. I just wish that some of those last few little, just those little tracks towards the end of the album just really came together a little bit more, because this very easily could have been his best album, I should say. I mean, the Miles track towards the end, I mean, God, the Cast Iron Skillet track, they're not very good. But still, Jason's a modern gem in alternative country, and this, as well as the 400 unit, is one of their best albums together. I'm feeling a light 8 on this album. Let me know what you all think down below. If you like the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, friends.